welcome. If you caught my first video on Saturday, you know that we are covering the needle felted egg that we made. And I had kind of a contest going on the video as to whether we were going to make a gnome or we were going to do a sheep. And it was really close, guys. I don't have my pad here, but I was like tracking comments as they came in, trying to keep track of how many I got, and I have no idea whether I was right or not, but there was like one difference between the two of them. So sorry Sarah, we're doing the sheep this time. If you really want to see a gnome, comment below, and maybe on Thursday I can do another egg and we'll cover it with a gnome. So let me know down below if you want to see the gnome, and if you do, let me know what colors you want me to make them, and we'll do the gnome. Otherwise, we're going to do the sheep today. So to get started, if you missed my last video on making the egg, go back and watch that, the replay of that. I did, after I made it with you guys on Saturday, I did go back through and just kind of firmed it up a little bit more. And I actually did like one more layer around it just because I wasn't totally happy with the width of it in the middle. So I did that, but we got the egg. So since we're going to do a sheep, I am going to put my glasses on. Oh, Anna, you cheater. I have a blue and I have a green that we're going to do a sky and the grass with. And these are really nice spats. I do not remember where I got them from, but they felt up really, really nicely. So, not the cleanest. There's still little bits of vegetative matter in them that I just have to pick out as I go, but we're going to go with it. So I am going to start with, I think I'm going to start with the sky. So I'm just pulling off little pieces here. What is the purpose of stiffening the egg more? Does it matter in the end? Kathy, so this isn't like totally firm. If you can see, I can still squeeze it a little bit. But what will happen if it's not pretty firm when I start adding the detail? It can get lost inside the egg. So it's good to have it fairly firm when you start to add your top coat. So that's why you want it to be fairly firm. Especially like if you're doing like fine lines and stuff like that, when you start poking, if it's still really soft, you'll just poke it right into the egg and you'll just lose it. It'll disappear. So it's a good idea to have it fairly firm. So I'm gonna make my sky just a little bit lower than half, and we'll bring the grass up over the top of the sky a little bit. So all I'm doing is I'm just taking some smaller pieces here, and I'm just kind of roughing in where I want my sky and my grass to meet. Hopefully you guys can see that. And right now, all I'm doing is I'm just tacking it down. I just want to get a coating of my blue over it. So I'm just going to kind of tear off some more pieces here. Kind of lay them down where I want my sky and grass to meet. And I'm using a 40 spiral here. That's just what I happen to grab. I might try my 38 needle and see how that goes. It might felt it up a little bit faster, but I just happen to grab my spiral here. Yeah, I can still use it. The needles really depend on feel. So if you're finding that the needle you're using, you're having a hard time poking it into your base, then just go to a smaller needle. So I just have my 38 triangle here and my 40 spiral here. So all I'm doing is just doing little pieces. I prefer to kind of pull off little pieces as opposed to like really big pieces, because I don't want to distort the shape of my egg. So if I pulled off like a really big piece and put it on, it might make my egg shape a little wonky. So I'm just pulling off little pieces and putting them in, because you can always go back if you have any bare spots. You can always go back in and fill them in. So, which I usually do. Like, you know, if you can see, there's like a really thin spot there, so I'll just go back in and fill that in. So this will take a couple minutes to get it felted down, and I'm just gonna kind of go over it all, since I have it pretty well covered at this point, and just work on getting it felted down, finding any spots. Hi, Connie. Finding any spots that are a little thin and just kind of filling them in. So once you start doing this, you'll be able to see. So like right now, because it's like just attached, I don't know if you can see that. I'm gonna work on my lighting here, but you can see how it's really fluffy, and there's like lots of needle holes and stuff like that. So by switching down to my my 40 spiral needle, I can start securing that wool a little bit better and making it smoother. And if you've never done needle felting before, this is the process that really takes the longest time, because you want to have a fairly smooth finish most of the time. I mean, so like if you're doing sheep or something like that, you might want them a little bit poofier. In my Whimsical Creations page the other day, I posted a little sheep that I had made way back last year, and he's quite fuzzy. So it really depends on what kind of look you're going for, but since we're covering the egg here, I do want it to be fairly smooth. So this will take a couple minutes. And I'm probably not going to do it totally before I put the green on, because it'll just be easier to do it all together. But I do want to get it to be somewhat smooth. So, do you guys want to see a gnome on Thursday? Let me know. I think I'm free Thursday afternoon. I can do a gnome. So if you want me to do the gnome, those of you who were voting for the gnome, let me know what kind of colors you would like me to do them in. I know purple was mentioned on Saturday, which I can totally do. I was actually all set to do the gnome, because for up until this morning, the gnome was winning, so the sheep ended up pulling ahead this morning. All right, so it's still not totally there yet, but we're going to add the green now for the grass. So I just have another, this is the same type of wool. It's just another bat. So I'm going to take this, and I kind of like this. It's kind of got a variegation of greens in it. So this, I'm actually going to go a little bit smaller, and I'm going to kind of run this, and I'm not, I mean, because it's supposed to be a field, I don't care if it's a little hilly, I guess you would say. So I'm not looking for it to be like straight across. I actually kind of prefer it if it's not exactly straight. But I do want to bring it up over the blue so it gets good coverage. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the blue. And just kind of tack it in to start with. So hopefully there isn't too much of a glare behind me. I'm going to have to get a curtain for my window. Today it's very sunny, and I don't have curtains on my windows in my studio because there's nobody behind us. It's just woods, and I like the brightness when the sun is shining. However, it doesn't make for good filming, so I'm gonna have to either get a curtain or a blind or something to throw on the window behind me here for when I'm filming. When I do my YouTube videos, it doesn't matter because the camera's above my hands and you don't see the window behind me, so. All right. So the bats actually felted fairly quickly. Just got to do a little bit on the bottom. You guys are quiet today. Everybody's working along with me, is that it? Except for Anna, who's taking a lunch break. I wondered if you were working, Connie. More flowers? Diligently watching. Well, hopefully you're not going to be disappointed. We'll see. Okay, so I have a pretty good coat of my green here. So now I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the blue and just kind of felt it down pretty good. Yeah, you guys should go check out Connie's Crafting Dreamers. She's been making these crepe paper flowers, and they are absolutely beautiful. I was able to catch a couple of her lives, and they are absolutely gorgeous. So if you kind of like something besides needle felting, you should go check out her page and see what she's working on. So I'm just going all the way around. Now, if I was doing this, if I wasn't doing this live and trying to get it done so you guys aren't bored to tears watching me felt this, I would spend probably a good 15 minutes or so just making sure that this is really nice and smooth. I don't know how well you can tell. The lighting isn't the best, but as you're felting, as you're trying to get your top coat on, it'll kind of create like little pillows. That's why I kind of refer them to as like little pillows of air of your felt. And by going with my fine needle, you can see I'm just kind of going back and forth here across the wool. And as I do that, it gets rid of those little pillows of air that are in the wool and just kind of smooths them all out. So I just like to go kind of back and forth across my wool here to get a nice smooth finish. I'm also doing, instead of stabbing straight in and out vertically like this, I'm going at a 45-degree angle. I'm going straight in and out still. I don't want to go in and bend my needle because it'll break. But by doing it at a 45-degree angle, that kind of helps to smooth your finish as well. So I don't know how well you can see that with my camera. I really prefer to have my camera right over my head, but I can't, it's hard to maneuver it doing the lives like this. So I'm actually, I just ordered a camera because I hate to use my phone because inevitably my husband tries to call me and I'm doing a live and I don't get his call and then he gets mad at me. So I'm trying to get a hold of you. I'm like, sorry. So I did just order a camera. I'm hoping it will work okay for doing lives. We'll see. And then I don't have to tie up my phone Not that I could talk to him if I'm doing a live anyway, but you know. All right. So this is pretty good. It could definitely go over a little bit more, and I probably will as I start to add the other decorations to it, but I think it will work for what we're going to do next. So felting is definitely not something that is done really fast. I mean, almost all my projects, the quickest projects that I've done still take me like at least an hour, hour and a half. And like these eggs usually take me about an hour and a half or so. Okay. All right, we're gonna go with it. So you can see that. All right, now we're gonna make our little sheep next. So I have some white. And I'm just going to kind of go with a little bit here. I don't want them to be really big, and all I'm doing is I'm just kind of pulling it apart and stacking it on top of each other. And my sheep's body is kind of, I don't know, kind of rounded at the top and kind of flat across the bottom. So that's the shape that I'm looking for. Now you could totally take like a marker and draw out whatever the shape is that you want to do, but I'm just going to rough it here. So I want his body to be above the grass because I want his feet to come down into the grass a little bit. And this is actually might be a little bit too much, so I'm going to take about half of that. So I'm just going to start it a little bit above the grass, and I'm just going to kind of freehand it, kind of make the bottom sort of straight. I mean, he's fluffy, so it doesn't have to be like really, really straight. And I'm just going to kind of get an idea of how big I want his body to be. And then I'm just going to take the rest of it and see, I'm just taking my needle and just very gently moving the wool into the place that I want it to go. So hopefully you can see that. So it's a little rounded at the top, a little more straight at the bottom. And just when you're moving your wool, just be really gentle because you don't want to break your needle. And that just is giving me the basic shape of its body. And I'm going to add a little bit more on top of that since I have my basic shape, because I want to cover all that blue up. And I don't really care because he's fluffy, so I don't really care if this is totally felted down really tightly. I actually kind of like it to be a little fuzzy, but I do want to get the blue to be well covered, so I'll give it a few coats of the white just to make sure that the blue isn't showing through. And I tend to kind of prefer more whimsical characters. If you've been following me, you probably know that. So I'm not looking for total realism here. If you want to go more realistic, you're more than welcome to. So I'm just gonna kind of fill in with a little bit more white here and there where I see some blue sticking out. So we have a little white cloud here. Okay, you see that? All right, next I'm going to get some black. Not that black, this black. And these are all bats that I'm using here. I don't think I have any tops or roving. Well, the flowers I might. So, but most of this is just some colored bats that I have. Okay, now his head. We're going to, if you can see this. Oh, that sounds like fun, learning how to spin. That sounds cool. That's one thing that I would like to learn how to do. All right, so I'm going to make his head a little kind of cockeyed. So I'm gonna, if you can imagine with me here, I'm gonna kind of make a rounded section here for the bottom of his head, and it's gonna kind of go up here. It's kind of like an oval shape, and then I'll add his ears, which will give it a little bit more definition. So I'm just taking it just to the side of the white. It's kind of overlapping a little bit. And I'm just going to kind of manipulate the wool here to kind of form a head shape. So I kind of want it, you know, kind of come down here in a bit of an oval shape. And this you can just kind of play around with it to see what looks good. I'm going to make the top of his head a little bit less rounded than the bottom. And one thing that might help you is if you have like a picture of a sheep in front of you. I always usually have pictures. Either they could be like real pictures, or they could be like, you know, drawn pictures or whatever. At the moment, I just have my other egg that I made here in front of me that I'm kind of going by. So just kind of looking to see. Now, one thing you can do is if you find, like, if you have a section that just doesn't quite look right and you want it to get a little bit smaller, you can kind of poke it right along the outer edge of it, and it'll kind of help you to define it a little bit more. And also what I'm seeing, so whoever it was that asked me about firming, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but as I'm poking it in, I'm noticing that some of the blue is kind of puffing up around the black. So that's, you know, one of the reasons why you want your egg to be fairly firm before you start working at it, is because whatever it is that you're drawing on your egg will kind of push down into it. And so all I have to do is just, and that's mostly just more from the blue that I added that could be felted down a little bit more. So all I'm just going to do is just kind of go around that a little bit. So let's see here. How am I feeling about that shape? I think I'm going to add a little bit more over on this side. So I have a little oval shape here for his head. So now I'm going to do his ears. And I'm just going to take really tiny pieces of wool. And what I'm doing is I'm going to rub them in between my fingers a little bit. That's probably too small. But I'm just kind of looking for like a kind of an oval shape. So if you can see that, it's hard for me to tell on my phone what you can see because the comments are showing up. And I'm going to put it off to the side, like so, to give him a little ear. I might make it a little bit bigger. So I'll do it again just to go a little bit bigger here. Now you could do it all in white if you wanted to, if you didn't want to have the black head. It just kind of gives it a little bit more definition, I think. So it's just a little bit down from the top of the head. Again, we're not going for total realism here, but just a little ear shape. And I want the top of the head to still kind of show, so if it's a little too big, you can tuck it in around the sides. I'll do the other side here a little bit more. So all I'm doing is just kind of roll it in between my fingers to kind of get the shape started. And figure out where over here I want it to go. And I'm like barely poking in with my needle because we're just doing surface work. So it's my needle's probably only going in like maybe 1/4 of an inch. All right, I want to round off the top of his head just a little bit here because I kind of got lost with the ears. So I'm just going to put a little bit more black up across the top of his head. And I'll just give it a kind of a once over here. Okay, can you see that? All right, now I could probably bring his head down a little bit more, but I think that'll work. Let me just touch up his ear here a little bit. All right, now we're going to do his legs. So I'm going to get some more black here. Oh, thank you, Kathy. So now to do his legs, I need 4. So what I'm going to do, I find it easier, and if you've watched any of my videos, you know I recommend this. If you're doing multiples of anything, you want to do them at the same time because inevitably you end up with different thicknesses of wool. So I like to do, if I'm going to do 2 of something, I like to do them at the same time so I can get my thicknesses the same. So all I'm doing is taking 4 really thin pieces here, and I folded them in half, and I'm just rolling them in between my fingers here to kind of roll them together, you know, like you're rolling a snake with clay or something like that, just to kind of get it started. And then I'm going to do, they're longer than what I need, but that's okay. So I'm going to figure out here where I want my legs to go. I do want them to kind of touch down under the grass because we don't want flying sheep. So I'm just going to start to tack it in just underneath where I have the white and just kind of bring it down into the grass. And I don't want them to be too fat, so I'm tucking in the sides. And again, we're not going for like total realism here, so you could just do 2 if you wanted to do 2 instead of 4. You could do this one. I'm just going to put the next one right next to it, keeping the same, so they're, you know, level across the base of them. And all I'm doing is taking that extra wool and just bringing it down. You could cut it off, but for something like this, it's easy enough just to tuck it down. Okay, so we have 2 legs. Now, this little sheep is a little short on one end. I think I might make him a little bit longer here. Just looking, I think I could have put his head further out. So I'm just going to add. So this is a nice thing about working with the wool is you can add more to it. You can take away, but it's a little harder. In the case of something like this, I could totally, like if I had his body too long, I totally could pull some of the white off from it, make it a little bit shorter. But in this case, since I want to go just a little bit longer, I'm just going to add a little bit more here. And I'll add his other legs back here. Trying to keep them about the same distance down. And then just take that extra fluffy bits here and just tuck them in. Black is really hard to work with, I find, because it's really hard to see. Something like this isn't too bad, but if you're working like with a really big project, I had to do a dog one time. And even if you saw I did a Godzilla for my husband one year. If you saw that picture, that was like really hard to work with, because it's just so hard to see. Even with like lights hanging right over me, it's just really hard to work with. His hair a little bent. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little more white, and just so it doesn't look like his legs are just kind of sitting there, I'm going to just put a little bit of white over the top of the black, just to kind of help them to blend in a little bit so it doesn't look like they're just sticking there. And again, you can like felt this in really well if you want it to be really smooth. If you want it to be kind of fuzzy, you don't necessarily have to felt it in quite as much. And what I like to do is, because the head is in front of the body, I like to just give it a little bit of definition by going right around the head against the body, and it kind of make it stand out just a little bit. Okay, so you can see our little sheepy. All right, now if you wanted to give him a tail, some sheep have tails, you can give him a tail. I didn't do a tail on mine, so. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little sun, because we all need a little sun these days, right, with the weather. So I'm just taking some yellow and I'm just kind of pulling it apart and just kind of stacking it on top of each other. And that's probably a little bit more than what I need, so I'm going to use about half of that. And I'm going to take my little sun, and I just kind of rounded it out a little bit, and just by using my needle, I'm manipulating it to get the shape that I want. So you can go as big or small. You could do a nighttime one with a moon. And my circles are never perfectly round, but that's part of art, right? And again, like with the white, I just want to make sure that all the blue is covered up, so I'll give it another coat here. And once again, I'm not poking really deep, only like probably about 1/4 of an inch, just enough to get that top layer felted down well. And again, you probably can't see it, but maybe you can see it, how the blue is just kind of sticking up a little bit here, just because it wasn't totally felted down. So it's just an opportunity for me to kind of go around a little bit more and firm that up just a little bit. Oh, got an itchy nose today. Okay. All right, so we get a sun. Now I'm going to give it just some like little wisps of clouds. So I'm just taking some really thin white and I'm just kind of laying it across and felting it on. You could like make a cloud shape or whatever, but I'm just gonna do some little wispy clouds. Now I'm only decorating one side of this egg. You could totally go like all the way around it and like do more sheep or something like that, but I figured, you know, probably most people are only going to see one side at a time. I bought one of those egg holders, you know, like they used to use when they do the put your egg inside it and, you know, crack the top and eat the egg out. Back in my grandparents' day. I found one at a thrift store and I wanted to make an egg to put inside there, and I still do. I just haven't decided exactly what I want to put on it, and it's bigger. It's pretty big, so these are too small to use in them, so I have to make a bigger one. But I was debating about what to put in that. I was hoping to get it done for Easter, but I don't think I am. I'm trying to get ready for a craft show on the 6th, so Easter will be gone by then, so I'm trying to thinking of Mother's Day items, and I'm just drawing a blank as far as what kind of Mother's Day things to make. So I was working on an owl. Alright, so just some wispy clouds. You can see that. Alright, so now we're going to give some flowers into our little field. So to do the flowers, I have just 3 colors here. I have the yellow, and then I have a pink, and I have this really, I love this color. This is so pretty. Purpley, whatever, pinky purpley color. And excuse me, to do the flowers, all I'm going to do is take little pieces and I'm going to roll it into a little ball in my fingers. So you see that? And I'm just going to randomly place them around here. Now this is another reason for having your base coat pretty firm, because these will definitely get lost in your wool if they're small and your egg isn't firm. In fact, I really need to kind of firm this green up a little bit more, because I can just tell as I start to put that in that it's gonna fall into the green. So I'll just tighten that up a little bit more. And I'm just going to kind of randomly make little round flowers here. I like to do them in 3s, but they don't necessarily have to be in 3s. You can do as many or as few as you want. Probably not, Kathy, because the wax is used more for like beaks or feet, you know, like birds' legs, talons, like on your dinosaur or dragons or stuff like that. It's mostly just used to kind of harden up little pieces and stuff. You don't necessarily need it for something like flowers. If you were doing, say, like a 3D flower, and you wanted to, say, like do the stamens in the flower, then you might want to do that. But most of the time, the wax is just used to harden pieces. So, you know, your feet, like birds' feet, a lot of people use them on that, or on claws or teeth or something like that. That's mostly when the wax is used. I have not used the wax yet. I think I mentioned that. So when I did, I made a King Kong for my husband one year, and I made the teeth with wool, and trying to think, no, I used clay for his teeth. I actually made some teeth using clay and then glued it into the mouth of it. But the Godzilla that I made, I just made them with wool because I didn't have any wax at the time, and I just put them on. I don't think I used any glue or anything with that. But yeah, so the wax is only, you know, really kind of used for things that you want hard. So a lot of times people use clay. So the same, you know, premise behind it is they want something that's kind of hard. All right, I need some more yellow flowers here. But so yeah, in this case, you wouldn't need it to be hardened. Now, I guess if you wanted to, you could like go over the entire egg. It would kind of give it an interesting feel to it, but then you kind of lose the softness of the wool. Like I said, I've been felting for 4 years, and I've never used the wax before, so I haven't done any projects that I've had like claws or talons or anything like that. I've either just used glue. I think the one dragon that I made in Ravenhof Acres, if you happen to catch this, you can maybe let me know, did I harden the claws on that? If I did, I probably used glue. I went over it with yeah, I can't think of it now. Some kind of glue or something that I went over it with, and I don't remember, but Ravenhof Acres, if you happen to watch this video, pop in and let me know, did I make those claws hard? All right, so I think we're doing pretty good here. Sure how long we've been on here, but about 42 minutes. Okay, so anyway, so yeah, so there we have our little sheep egg, and I will probably just kind of go over it a little bit more. I know like the green here definitely needs to be firmed up a little bit more, and probably the blue, but you know, you could do it on both sides, you could do it on one side. So anyway, so that's our little egg. Thank you, Kay. So let me know in the comments below if you want to see me do the gnome, since it was so close, and let me know if I should do that. Maybe I'll pop on Thursday. I'll make another egg, and I can pop on Thursday and we can do a gnome if there's interest in that. So just let me know. So anyway, I'll let you guys go and get back to whatever you got going on today. And maybe I'll see you on Thursday. If there's interest, we'll do a gnome. And if not, I'll probably come on next week with something new. I'm not sure what yet, so we'll see what we can do. But I've enjoyed chatting with you as I have made my little sheep. Beth would like to see a gnome. Okay, let me know what colors you want to see, Beth. I need to know a background color, and then I need to know what color you want his hat and his body and stuff like that. So I will plan on that. Watch my Facebook page, and it'll probably be 3 o'clock on Thursday, and we'll do a gnome. So, all right, thanks for stopping by, guys, and we'll see you next time. Have yourself a great rest of your afternoon.